Hello, my name is Ashley and I'm the creator of the Inventory Resale Business Tracker. And I'm here today to show you how to populate your tracker so that you can use it in the future and know that you're doing it properly. So I'm going to start here with what you're going to see when you open your tracker. The first thing you'll see is this introduction tab. It's really just an information tab about the tool itself with the copyright information. And so if you have any questions, you can kind of refer back to this. It has my name and information on here. So the first tab that you're really going to want to pay attention to is this P&L Summary tab. And so the important thing to note about this P&L Summary tab is that it's all just reference. It's going to populate itself, so you don't need to enter any information into here. And so you'll come here in order to see kind of how your business is going. And like I said, don't enter information in here, it populates itself. The only thing that you may want to mess with in this tab is the year. And so right now I have it showing the year 2020. Let's say we're in the year 2021. You can come in here and change the date to 2021. And you can see once I do that, it updates the year throughout the rest of the spreadsheet or throughout the rest of the columns. And so that's the way to change the year in the future. But other than that one spot, you don't want to mess with or enter any information into this tab. So I'll come back to this later after we populate other information. The same thing goes for the Quantities tab. That's kind of why I have these highlighted in red. Red, no, don't mess with them. The Quantities tab is the same thing as the P&L Summary. You're not going to enter any information into this tab, which I think a lot of people find confusing. They think quantities, oh, I need to go and put in what quantities I have available and all. That's not what this is for. This actually populates itself based on other information throughout the sheet, and then it becomes your reference so that you can see what you have on hand. And again, I'll come back to this in a few minutes so that you can see once I populate other things, but right now it's just blank. Okay, let's go over here to the first tab that you'll enter information in, and that's the product list. And so this is the place where you're going to enter all of your product information. So right now I have 3 columns set up. It's the product name and the retail price. These are the only 2 that get carried over throughout the rest of the sheet. I also have a product notes tab or column right here. You can add more columns for product notes, but again, those columns with the product notes will not be used anywhere else in the sheet. It's just product name and retail price that are going to be used elsewhere in the sheet. So I'll go ahead and give you an example here. Let's say I purchased, or let's say I have product in my store called pearl earrings, and let's say they retail for $35. And I have some bee earrings. Oh, sorry. Not spelling it correctly. Bee earrings, and let's say those I typically retail for $30. And then maybe I have a silver bracelet. And let's say I retail that for $40. And I'm going to put in my product notes, maybe this is a cuff bracelet style. Okay, so now I have some products that are in my store. If you come over here to the Quantities tab, now you'll see, as opposed to seeing a blank sheet like we saw before, we have product names and retail prices that are now showing up in here. So that's great. So that's what the product list is. I'm not going to belabor this. Some of the things that are helpful on this page to know about, though, are that if you ever want to see your products in alphabetical order, you just come to this little arrow right here, and then you click Sort A to Z, and it'll resort your items in alphabetical order. So if you come over here to the Quantities tab, you can see now this is also sorted in alphabetical order. So that's important to note, because if you're looking at the Quantities tab and you're trying to see information about your quantity available and you want to see something in alphabetical order, you're not going to do it on this tab. You're going to go back to your product list and always sort on this product list tab instead of going to the Quantities for that. Same thing with retail price. You could actually say, maybe I want to see like my most expensive prices at the beginning. So I could say, click down, say sort largest to smallest, and then it would resort everything in the order of the most expensive product. And so again, Quantities list updates. Okay, so that's that tab. The next tab that you'll see is this customer info tab. This tab is set up so that it's just kind of a one-stop shop for all customer information. It has names, email, phone, address. I have right here birthday. When you open up your sheet, it'll say notes, but you can change this to be anything you want it to be. It could be notes, it could be birthday, it could be, I could change this one to anniversary. So you can make these columns whatever you want them to be. They're not linked to anything else in the sheet. So if you don't want email address, you can delete that column and you're totally fine. So this is the one tab in the whole sheet that you can mess with to your heart's content, and it won't change anything else throughout the sheet. So have at it here and enter any information that you think you need. Okay, so the next tab is actually the one that's going to get all the inventory into your business. And so this tab is called the Inventory Purchases. So this is where you're going to go to enter any information about inventory that you've purchased. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in an order so that you can see how it works. So let's say on 4/1/2020, I placed an order, a bulk order for some bee earrings and some pearl earrings. So those are the items that I now have in my shop. And let's say that for the bee earrings, my wholesale cost for those was $15. And maybe I ordered 5, I received 5 of them. And then let's say my wholesale cost for the pearl earrings is $17.50. And I ordered 10 of those and I received 10. So now I actually have information that's entered into here. You can see the cost of sales inventory basically gives me my total cost for that whole line item. And so if I come over here to the Quantities tab, you'll now see that it's populated to show that I have 10 pearl earrings and 5 bee earrings in my stock. And then it gives me my cost of goods for those items. Let's say I actually kept one of each of those for sample. And so I can enter 1 into that column. If I go back to the quantities, now you'll see I only have 9 and 4 available. And that's because it's taking that sample out of my inventory. So it will dynamically update as you make changes throughout the sheet. So that's how the Inventory Purchases tab goes. You'll go ahead and continue to enter all inventory purchases that make their way into your shop, and that's how you'll record all of that here. On the next tab, this is called Inventory Adjustments. You can use this for multiple different purposes. What I like to think of using it most for is for maybe like a return where you do like a straight exchange. So let's say that on April 15th, I had someone who wanted to return a pair of bee earrings that they purchased for a pair of pearl earrings. So they're returning the bee earrings. So the quantity altered is going to be 1 because I'm getting it back into my inventory. They're returning it to me and I get it back. And the pearl earrings are going to be a -1 because I'm giving it out to them. And so what we would show is that the pearl earrings are coming out of stock. We paid $17.50 for them. And so your altered cost of goods for the bee earrings would be $17.50. So you'd enter the same information there. And then I would just put straight exchange so that I kind of know. You can put whatever notes you want in here, but that's kind of how you would handle, say, like an exchange of items. You would take one out of inventory. That's the one that you gave to the person, and you would bring one back into inventory. That would be the one that you received. If, let's say, they were doing an exchange, but the bee earrings were not salvageable, and you had to kind of just eat that cost, you wouldn't put these back in your inventory. You would just say the pearl earrings were an exchange and the bee earrings wouldn't even exist on that line. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's the Inventory Adjustments tab. I don't foresee that you'll use this tab very often. It's primarily going to be the Inventory Purchases and then the Customer Sales tabs that you use. But I did want you to kind of see how you might use this for things like an exchange or whatnot. Okay, so let's look at the Customer Sales tab. This is where you're going to enter all of your customer orders that you sell out. And so let's say on 4/20/2020, I had a customer, let's say it's Minnie Mouse. came and she purchased some of my pearl earrings. And you can see I have 8. That's because I have this inventory adjustment. And I also kept one for my samples. And so let's say she actually purchased 2 items. Once I put 2 in the quantity sold column, then I end up with 6. After I enter my quantity sold, you'll see here that it also populates the retail priced and the cost of goods. And so typically, because each of these pearl are $35, then the 2 would add up to $70. So that's how much I would be charging Minnie Mouse. And my cost of goods for those were $35. Let's say I charged her $5 in shipping cost, and I didn't give her any discounts, but I did charge her taxes. Let's say I charged her $3.25. And I had some credit card processing fees. I paid $1.50 for that fee, and then I had another website processing fee. That was another $2. So I'll put all that information in here, and it calculates what the final customer charge would have been, as well as what my net profit was for that item. You'll see there's some drop-down boxes over here for, say, like invoice sent and paid, shipped. So you can actually like come in here and say, I did send her my invoice. She went ahead and paid it, but I haven't shipped it yet. So I kind of keep that as my flag so that I can go in and say like, okay, have I shipped everything? Let's say in that same order, so I'm going to say 2020, Minnie Mouse again. She also purchased some bee earrings. She purchased one of those, but I didn't charge her any more shipping because they kind of were a bulk item. But I did charge her some taxes on that. Let's say it was $2.50. And I didn't charge her any more, or I didn't get charged any more processing fees because that was all kind of part of that one credit card. So I'll just leave that on the top line. And again, I sent her an invoice. She paid it. But I haven't shipped it. And these columns here, they're not necessarily important. They're more for your tracking. So if you don't fill out those columns, it's fine. You don't need to do that. But one of the things that you do need to know that's really important is that even if this same customer purchased multiple items on the same date, you always have to put the order date in here. So every row has to have the order date. And that's the only way that all the information will get added over to your P&L summary tab. So that's really important to know. On this tab, the customer sales, and on the expenses tab, you have to have the order date on every row or else it won't show up. So let's go over here to the P&L summary and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So now because I have information entered in there, it's showing me what my gross sales are, taxes that I charged, my shipping costs, and then it's also showing me all of the different kind of cost of goods and fees so that I can get down to my gross profit. So all that information is now showing up in here because I actually have an order entered. It's also showing me down here my cost of goods and remaining inventory. So that's everything that I still have in my inventory after my sales. This is how much the cost of goods of that inventory is. So that's just a reference point down here that you can always look at. And it's showing me my net profit and loss. Since I don't have any expenses or anything entered in here yet, it's showing me my net profit and loss is $57 for that one order. Again, we can come over here to the quantities tab. Similar thing, because I've entered some orders where you can see under this quantity sold, I've sold a couple of items. My quantities available is only 3 and 6. One of the things that might be helpful as well is you can always come in here if you have a long list of items and you want to just see which things you have in stock. You can always click this down arrow here and uncheck your blanks and say okay, and then it will only filter down and show you just the items that you actually have in stock. So that's always a quick way that you can go in here and check and see what actually do I have, what do I need to order more of. So I'll go ahead and click those back on. Okay, so we'll scroll back over here. So that's the customer sales tab. I'm not going to belabor this one either, but hopefully that kind of explains how you populate everything in this tab. The expenses tab is very simple. What you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to enter any expenses you have. Let's say that on 5/5/2020, I placed an order for with USPS for some shipping materials. So let's say it's packages and tape. I would come in here and select the category. So maybe it's packaging supplies, and maybe I spent $25 on that. And so once I enter all that information, again, I can come back over here to my P&L summary, and now I'll see it show up here under packaging supplies, and it's $25. And so now that's entered into my P&L. So that's how you would work the expenses. Some of the things that are important to note are that these expense categories can be changed. So let's say I don't ever have any bank fees or interest. I could actually change that to something else that I want it to say. I don't know, I'll just say example on here so that you can kind of see what happens. So once I change that to example, if I come here in my drop down, you'll see now it changes and it says example instead. And same thing with on the P&L summary, you'll see now it no longer says that bank fees, instead it just says example there. Okay, the last thing that might be important for you to know in the expenses tab is how to handle your samples. So let's say my samples are used for advertising purposes. I actually have them in my store for people to touch and see. I would come over here to the inventory purchases, and you can see how I actually said quantity retained for samples. I already marked them out of my inventory. The problem with that is it's not taking into account the cost that I paid for it anywhere in my sheet. So I'm going to have to go in and enter it in a way that would give me kind of credit and account for that loss that I've taken. So I know that for each of those, for the bead earrings and the pearl earrings, they were each, one was $15 and one was $17.50. That's what I paid for them. And so the two combined was $32.50. I can kind of see what that sum is here. So I would come over here and I would say, this was on 4/1/2020. I wholesaler, and my items were bead earrings. Oops. And pearl earrings, samples, and then I would say that was categorized under samples and testers, and I paid $32.50 for there. And so once I do that, now I've taken into account one, the inventory that has been taken out by having those samples, and now I'm also accounting for the cost of those samples. And so if I come back over to my P&L summary, you'll see now it's showing up. Okay, I actually have some samples that I have paid for that are showing up under my expenses. And so that's the way that you would handle that. Other than that, it should be pretty simple. This tab is one that you don't ever want to sort and filter on. And so, you know, it's not ideal, but you're just going to be basically entering information in here. And I think that it's pretty easy and self-explanatory tab. Other than that, everything should operate pretty quickly and easily, and like I said, it's all linked together. If you ever come into any issues or problems, just let me know, and I hope this video has helped to explain how to use the sheet pretty well. Thank you.